The evolution of transportation. This is the evolution of the steamboat. John Fitch was born on January 21st in 1743 in Connecticut. He had an extremely small head and proportionate to his body. However, that's not really important. In 1767, he married Lucy, and they were madly in love, or so I would assume. Soon after his marriage, Mr. Fitch was drafted and entered into the Revolutionary War. That's a canon, in case you can't tell. Canon has two ends. When he was back home, he wanted to build his dream, creating the steamboat. So, he convinced the state legislators to award him a 14-year-old monopoly. Can I pause? He came upon a brilliant idea to combine British and Scottish designs. But then he decided that they weren't exactly how they should be, and so he used their ideas but not the design. When he finally came up with a prototype, he tested it on the Delaware River. The Delaware had trouble when Livingston and Robert Fulton stole Fitch's idea. They decided that they needed to make improvements, but that his idea was what they wanted, so they took it. As shown here. Ideas in the air. Fulton takes it. Fitch is mad. Soon after this tragedy, John died on July 2nd, 1798. But the legacy of his steamboat lives on. The end.
This is the history of the motorcycle, in its early days known as the velocipede. The motorcycle was created by Sylvester Roper. Mr. Roper was born in New Hampshire, although in this case New Hampshire has a weird shape. Roper worked as a machinist, and that's where he got all of his tools, and that's how he learned to create things such as the motorcycle. Later in his life, Roper married a woman named Almira, and they were madly in love. Soon after their marriage, he started to think of ideas for his motorcycle. However, the first idea he came up with was simply a bike with a coal engine, which most people didn't enjoy. However, he loved his motorcycle, and he rode it and actually ended up dying on it. However, he didn't die from an accident. He died from having a heart attack while riding the motorcycle. But the motorcycle is still a great thing today. The end. This is the history of the very first automobile in America. The first automobile was created by Dr. J.W. Carhart, who was born in Wisconsin on June 26, 1834. Mr. Carhart grew up to be a minister at an Episcopal church in Wisconsin. He was greatly known and loved by his community members. Dr. Carhart grew up to create the very first American-made car with a steam engine. He created this because there was a competition in town to win $10,000 for the best idea for new transportation. He won first place and got $10,000 as a grant. Soon after, actually 7 years after his car was made, there was a race in Green Bay, Wisconsin, in which 7 cars competed. However, 5 of the cars dropped out before the race even started, and one of them broke down halfway through the race, leaving only 1 car as a winner. This is how Carhart's idea for a car came about. Although Carhart died soon after the race and did not get to live with the glory of creating a car, the legacy of the car lives on.
This is the history of how the first airplane in America came to be about. The 2 brothers that had the design for this were the Wright brothers. There was
Wilbur and Orville. Orville was the older of the 2 brothers, and thus he thought he was more important and usually took the leadership role. Wilbur and Orville often pondered how they could make life easier for themselves. So one day, as they were looking into the sky at the birds, they thought, how can we fly? They made a 3-axis control for a plane, which probably looked like this, at least in our minds, and thus They had a successful flight on December 19th, 1903. It was the first successful heavier-than-air human flight. Amongst birds, they also got their inspiration from kites. However, they soon died after all of their inspiration was used up, even though they died in different years. The end. This is the history of the Segway. The Segway was created by Dean Kamer. Dean Kamer was born on April 5th, 1951, in New Hampshire. He first created the Segway. However, it was not called the Segway. It was called the Ginger after Fred Astaire's role in the movie Ginger. On December 3rd, 2001, he went on Good Morning America to debut the Segway. Everyone loved it, and now he is 62 years old and